Hey guys, Shane here. Before we get started today, I want to ask you a quick favor. Please hit that subscribe button and give this podcast episode a share on social media so that we can help more families start, build, and grow a membership of their own. We appreciate that so much. Thank you for listening today. And now on to the podcast.
Hey y'all, on today's podcast, we helped a convicted hacker use his hacking superpowers for good in a legit and legal hacking membership site. Our guest today is Terry Dunlap. Terry realized from a very young age that he had a skill for hacking. In fact, he was actually arrested for hacking credit card numbers back in the 80s before there was even an internet. Seriously. Later, he discovered that government and Fortune 500 companies would actually pay people to hack their systems in order to improve security. Terry went all in and built an amazing business around high-ticket coaching programs. Now, he wants to take his hacking classes worldwide with a hacker's membership site. This is a fascinating episode of the Flip Lifestyle Podcast you do not want to miss. Don't forget to share this on social media and follow and subscribe on your favorite podcast app. And now, enjoy the show.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Flip Lifestyle Podcast. It is great to be back with you again today. Super excited to bring another real member of the Flip Your Life community onto the show so we can help them take their membership and online business dream to the next level. And I got a good one for you all today. And I always say that the Flip Lifestyle Podcast is the most diverse online business coaching community on the planet Earth. We've got people selling goats. We've got people shearing sheep. We got people raising chickens, life coaching, business coaching, swim coaching, whatever you name it. We've got somebody in the community doing it. And I'm proud to say we have our first hacker on the program today. I want to welcome Terry Dunlap. Terry, what's up, brother?
Hey man, I appreciate that. And one thing I want to make very clear here is that when we say hacker, we're not talking life hacker. We're talking a real live convicted computer hacker.
Yes, you had me at convicted. You sold me at convicted, man. When I saw it in the forums on an introductory thread, and actually what happened was our director of retention, our community manager, Carrie, sent me a message and goes, "Have you seen this?" And I love it. And I know I'm in for a good treat because we get one of those about every couple weeks. You know what I'm saying? Like what? Like just a straight what? And I was like, "Hey guys, I'm a convicted. This is like crime. No, like computer hacker." So before we go any farther, stop. Tell us your background. Tell us what happened. Why are you a convicted hacker? And then tell us what you're doing now, and then what we're thinking about doing online, because we got to get the backstory on this one.
I don't know if you got enough time in this episode.
I got all the time in the world, brother. It's my show. We can go as long as we want.
So let's go into the Wayback Time Machine to 1985. I'm 17 years old. I have a Commodore 64 and a 300 baud dial-up modem. At the time, credit cards were the thing. So there were bulletin board systems. This is before the internet. These are BBSs that individuals would run out of their homes. And there was one that was very popular amongst the criminal-minded, if you will, and that was the Well out on the West Coast. So what we ended up doing as teenagers, we would go to the local mall in Sandusky, Ohio, and actually go dumpster diving. And back in those days, credit cards weren't like they are today. You'd have to actually run them through a machine, and you'd get a carbon copy that was between the merchant's version and your version that you take home. And the security that they would do is simply rip up the carbons and throw them in the trash. So what we would do at night was we'd rip through all the trash bags at the local mall, grab all the carbon copies, and go back home at night, piece them together to get the actual credit card numbers. And then we would take those credit card numbers, put them into just a plain text file, get on our 300 baud modem. We'd hack the phone system so the long distance call was free. And then we would connect out to California from Ohio and then upload that text file of these stolen credit card numbers. And then we would download a file from the West Coast of stolen credit card numbers that were out there. So the thing you got to keep in mind is that during this time in the mid 80s, in order for a restaurant or a merchant or somebody to see if a credit card is valid or stolen, they got like a little pamphlet every month in the mail from the credit card company. And they'd have to look up the number manually. Or they could call a toll-free number, which is to the merchant, and you have to provide them your merchant number and then the credit card number you want validated. And then they would give you an approval code that you write on the slip of paper that you're transacting the credit card processor through. So that's what we did. So we would take these stolen credit cards and we would get on CompuServe, and AOL was just starting up. And what businesses that were there, we would order stuff with stolen credit cards. I mean, we would even call places. Fireworks were a big thing for teenagers. So we ordered lots of fireworks with stolen credit card numbers.
This is already more off the chain than I thought it was going to be. Like, okay, all right. So you're ordering fireworks, you're ordering free stuff. So basically the scam was like you would send the California people the credit cards, they would send you yours. That way it's harder to figure out because you're in Ohio using the California numbers and they're in California using the Ohio numbers.
Yeah.
Basically. So
if you're law enforcement before the internet's born and you're trying to figure out how these credit card numbers from Ohio ended up in California, you're scratching your head wondering, how is this possible? Where did these come from?
This is mind bending already. Because I remember BBSs. Like I remember these things like, I remember getting on them. I remember seeing them, especially when they started right before the internet that we know today, like when the bulletin board system started adding GUIs and stuff like, like Prodigy and things like that. Like I remember thinking, geez, I'm talking to somebody in Texas. This is crazy,
awesome.
right? Yeah, it was unbelievable. So where did you get caught doing this, or did this grow into more traditional hacking, basically?
I'm not that stupid to get caught. The problem is I had a crew running with me that ended up getting busted.
They got caught. That was the problem.
So here's the story about how this went down. So one of the guys who was 15 at the time, I'm 17, he's 15, 16 years old. This is August of 1985. I'm getting ready to go to class and I'm looking for Tony. It's like, why isn't Tony in school today? What's going on? Well, little did I know, Tony had a deal with the next door neighbor. Now, this is kind of confusing, but bear with me here. You have a house with a rental house in the back. Okay, you got a main property up front, you got a rental property in the back. Older husband in the house of the front dies. Widow is left with the house, but she wants to sell the house, so she ends up moving out. But they keep the tenants in the back house off the property, keep them there. So Tony goes to the tenant and says to the tenant, I'm going to ship some packages to the main house. Will you pick them up and sign for them for me? And so a deal is struck. He goes, I'll do it if you order me some free power tools.
Okay. Right.
So the deal was struck.
I'm following. The deal struck.
So the deal was struck. So this goes on for a while, unbeknownst to me. So one day, the widow comes by to check on the property and sees the yellow UPS sticker on the door. And can't imagine why is UPS delivering packages here? So she calls UPS and said, there must be a mistake. And they say, nope, we've been delivering there for weeks. And she's like, well, what? We better call the cops. So they call the cops. So UPS, the cops, and her sit across the street behind some trees and stake out the place. And they have a package delivered. Tony walks across the yards, across the driveway, picks it up, takes it back to his house. Cops knock on his door. They ask, can we come in? No warrant or anything. And of course, he lets them in. And so what they end up doing when they go through his bedroom, they find a diary. And in the diary, he details day by day, night by night, exactly what we do, how we do it, and puts in our real names.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. No, this is not. So then you get to knock on the door, I assume.
So yeah, but mine's not at home. I'm actually, that day when he gets arrested, I'm actually sitting in calculus class. And this assistant principal knocks on the door. And he says to the teacher, Mr. Taylor, sorry to interrupt your class, but I'd like to see Mr. Dunlap down in the office. So I'm getting up from my desk, and he goes, oh, by the way, bring your books because you won't be coming back.
Oh, no. Oh, my gosh. What were your parents doing? Like, I mean, like when this, like, so, okay, so hold on. So you get, I assume, cuffed and put into a car at this point, at some point, right?
I'm getting close, yeah.
Yeah, right? Is so like, what are you thinking right now? Like, are you just thinking like, I'm going to jail. You don't know what's happening. You don't know how you've been caught yet is the thing, right?
That's what's going through my head.
Yeah.
How did I slip up?
Mm.
What happened?
Yeah.
How did I get caught?
And did they throw you and Tony in separate cells and be like, all right, Tony, you give up Terry, and did they go, Terry, you give up Tony, and like, give us the dirt, like, you know, they had the journal, so I mean, it's no big deal.
Yeah, they must have. So I go to the office. My parents are there. There's a local cop there. My mom's dropping F-bombs, wondering what the hell I'm up to. And so I get thrown in the back of the car as we go to the police station. There's all my computers and components and everything that I ordered. And it's like, oh man, what the heck happened here? So I get there, and then I see chained to a chair in the waiting room or the booking room is Tony and some other dude I don't even know. And I sit next to Tony. I said, what happened? He said, the police came to the house, and he told me the whole story. And it's like, you're an idiot, man. Why were you keeping a journal? I said, who's this clown next to you? He goes, well, I had him working for me. Working for you.
Oh my gosh, man. This is crazy.
So we end up going to juvenile detention for 5 days over Labor Day weekend. We get busted on a Thursday, and the courts don't open till Tuesday. So decent students, some of us are on the honor roll. We're in with carjackers, drug abusers. I mean, people who were in fights. I mean, this is not the place for us.
Yeah, look, like some suburban children being thrown into like literal criminals in jail. Right where you think, oh my gosh, man. Yeah. Unbelievable.
So our court date comes, and we get hauled down to the Erie County Courthouse. And I think they tried to make an example of us because, needless to say, I was scared out of my mind when I was in juvie detention. But they put us They literally put us in the orange jumpsuits, handcuff us, and then shackle us at the ankles, like we're a chain gang.
How much money was involved in all that? Like did you like how much do you think you totally probably spent on these credit cards? Because man, it's like you said, the 80s. Everybody, I remember those things. Like you would put them down, go cha-ching, and it like made that clicking noise, like when it made the copy. Yeah. Like I mean, but how much money you think all of you spent? Like in this racket?
Well, I think on the credit cards, it was probably north of 10 grand. But I think what really tipped them off was when I ordered a Cadillac.
With a card? Oh my God.
My parents actually picked up their car. They ordered an Oldsmobile, and I was at the dealership. And when they were doing the paperwork, I was sniffing around the manager's office looking at the computers and stuff. And I saw what their ordering system was. I saw the login information and the telephone number to like submit orders to GM for custom cars. So I went home one night and we sat around the computer, me and my buddies, and we said, let's see if this works. We got on our modem, we dialed in, we got a login prompt from GM, and we input the credentials and the numbers that we found on a Post-it note in the office, and it's like, oh my God, we're in here, and it's like we can order a car. Let's do this.
This is literally the plot from Ready Player One. Like you go into the guy's office. There's a sticker in his thing, and like you've got a car. Like did they send the car, or did they stop?
They shipped the car to the dealership. Now, this is a small town. This is Sandusky, Ohio. If you're familiar with Cedar Point, the amusement park up on Lake Erie, that's where I grew up.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a small town. After all this was over with, I was getting my hair cut from the barber, and he knew what I was into. He goes, the general manager from the Oldsmobile company was in here, and I was cutting his hair, and he said, man, if I know who those kids were that actually ordered that Cadillac, I'd give them a raise and give them some cash, because people, when that hit the newspaper, so many people came to the dealership and I sold a few cars. So it was like lead gen for them.
That's unbelievable. Okay. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, I have no idea where this podcast is going, but it's already awesome. It's going to get better. Okay. All right. So you get, I assume you didn't go to jail for very long in juvenile hall, right? Like you said, it's 5 days.
So what ended up happening was, this was 1985. The Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, which would have made our actions a felony, didn't pass until the following year in October of 86.
Okay.
So the
Okay.
only thing that they could actually charge us for was credit card fraud. For all from manipulating the phone systems to ordering the Cadillac to.
And you're underage too. So like,
yeah, because we're underage.
Yeah.
So basically we paid court fines. It was on our record that we were charged with credit card fraud. And if we stayed clean on probation for 3 years and didn't touch computers, it would be expunged. So
cool.
Good enough.
So okay, so you make it through this storm, but you realize that you have a superpower of figuring this. Like this is like Catch Me If You Can level stuff, right? Like there's many forks where this road could go. You know what I'm saying? So like what then took you down the road of like, you know, like as the internet grows, right? Did you get in trouble anymore? Like again? Or like did you think, wait a minute, I could use my superpowers for maybe some good in this world?
Honestly, no, I didn't get in any more trouble, but I was so scared and I was so tempted by what I could do with computers. It's like, I should probably stay away from this stuff. So I didn't do any more the shenanigans that I did as a teenager. In fact, when I got into college, I majored in poli-sci and econ. I didn't even go into computers. I took one computer class and it was like, I hated it. So
You had this taint, this like horrible experience, like where you're like, because you're a kid, you're like, well, I'm getting away with this. But then you're like, oh man, this is not legal. Like, you know, you're like, you knew it wasn't legal, but like you realize that there's consequences to that when you go to jail and you're in an orange jumpsuit, right? Okay. So what gets you back into the computer world? Right.
So when I graduate college, I ended up focusing primarily in the finance sector, working at places like broker dealers and eventually, you know, Fidelity Investments and stuff like that. So I ended up leaving and ended up working with Deloitte & Touche, the big consulting company. And I was doing financial portfolio management stuff with their high net worth clients. And I got really tight with the IT guy in Cincinnati. And he said, you know, I told him my past, like I told you in the audience. And he said, did you know nowadays people get paid professionally to hack into big corporations to see how secure they are? Now, this is like the 1990s, early 90s. And penetration testing is just now beginning. I flipped out. I couldn't believe it. I said, what? People are getting paid to hack? He goes, if you're still interested in doing that stuff, I can introduce you to the team in Chicago that actually does this for Fortune 500 companies. So we made the introduction and, you know, I did pass some assessment tests. And so now I was a paid hacker for Deloitte, going against like Fifth Third Bank and Procter & Gamble and First Energy and hacking in places and showing them where the holes were. And I'm doing it legally and I'm getting paid to do it.
Oh, that is freaking phenomenal, man. Like that it's amazing. Like, it's just incredible, like the way the road winds. You know what I'm saying? That leads to like because like if you don't run into that guy, and you may not know about it until it's too late. Like you might not find out till 5 years later that you can be. Remember that stuff you went to jail for a few days? Like you can do that, and it's okay. You know what I'm saying? Right? So like what is your like what is? And I think this is going to be relevant here in a minute because we're gonna I promise y'all we're bending this back to the memberships here a little bit. Okay, but like what does it look like hacking? Like what does it mean to be someone who gets like paid to go and be a security professional and hacking people? Like are you really just looking for vulnerabilities? Like, you know, like remember when like you could type in an email in a password thing and it said email not found. Mm-hmm. And then people found out later, well, that's a huge vulnerability because now they at least know that email's not the one, right? Like, you know, like there's all these little things that have become what we would consider, you know, commonplace today, like two-step auth and things like that. Like what does that look like on a day-to-day basis to help these people? Are you looking at code? Are you
no. What we'll normally do is part of the team will actually go into the company and literally kind of sneak around and find an empty conference room or something and literally plug into the network. This was before Wi-Fi wasn't even a thing back then. So all these conference rooms and waiting rooms and stuff in these corporations had, you know, you could just plug into the wall and you just open up your laptop and you just start running your hacking programs, scanning the network, looking for computers, and then you start running programs that try and brute force passwords and try and launch attacks against devices and see what happens and if you can take them over. Try to get into databases and pull back, you know, proprietary company information or payroll information or things of that nature. So you're actually going in trying to steal stuff from the company from whatever vector you can find. And there was even a team that did social engineering. Basically, these people would dress up and act like they're new employees and come in and act like they're lost and need to get their company badge and get access to the computer network. And
That's awesome.
People do that stuff.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah. And like, did people go into it, like when you say social engineering, like, were they just like also like just like even just fishing a little bit for like, hey, you know, like birthdays, like mom's maiden names, like anything you can find to get people's like passwords and stuff?
Most of it is they would find like a company directory. They'd find somebody in the directory that was actually important. And then they would call tech support and say, this is Mr. Important Guy. I have this damn presentation that's due and I can't log onto the network and I need my password right now.
Oh my gosh. And then that dude's like, and that guy's scared because he don't know he's getting fired if he didn't give this guy a password, right?
Yep. Yeah, that's how it happens.
Oh my gosh, man. That's unbelievable. So this leads now, you got your own company that does this? Is that what it is? Like,
yeah. So
what are you doing now? Like as your 9 to 5, as your thing, as your, you know, whatever, like, what does that look like?
That is actually, I got 2 companies. Okay. One is Tactical Network Solutions, which has been around since 2007 after I left the National Security Agency. I worked there for a while.
Okay.
And we did hacking type things for the government under contract, but then we realized that there's a lack of skills and we're only so many people. So we developed training classes to teach the military, the intelligence community, how to hack like a nation state hacker goes after foreign countries and foreign targets. So we train that skill set because they don't teach this in school.
Yeah.
So we had for years had number of live classes that taught the military, the intelligence community how to do this. And people talk, even in the intelligence community, talk to people outside in corporate world. And before you know it, we start to see Fortune 500 attending our classes. And I pull a few aside, like, why are you in our class? This doesn't make sense because we're teaching the government and people how to do offensive stuff. And they said, well, we want to learn how people would hack our PlayStation or hack our Tesla or hack our refrigerators so we can protect them better. It's like, okay, well, that makes sense. So we've made millions of dollars over the years doing these training classes. They're really high-speed, high-end training classes. And I got the bright idea a couple years ago to start moving some of these classes online because we had people from all over the world fly in from Sweden, Israel, Australia to take these classes. And we would actually fly to those places too, which weren't too bad. I mean, I never got to go, but it was the team that was teaching would get to go. And then COVID hits, and we had just launched one of our flagship classes online. And so all the people that were signed up to take the live classes this year, I convinced them that, hey, you get the same education, the same material, the same instructors, a private Slack channel. You can hit us up anytime, and it's all online at your pace. And it was the same price as the live class. And that, thank God, the timing was just perfect for that because we haven't seen a dip in the training.
Oh yeah, man.
Because of that, thank God.
We had a lady on too. It's funny, like we had a lady on who teaches. It's not the same field as yoga. She has a yoga studio, right? Her name's Jennifer, and same thing, man. Like right before this hit, and she had been like, "Hey, we're going to move some of this online," right? And when the thing hit and her gym got shut down, she was prepared to go online, and her clients didn't leave her. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's just the power of using the internet to reach out and meet everybody and talk to people, especially this. Like this is crazy because like you see these things in the news all the time, like freaking North Korea takes down Sony and like, you know, all this stuff. And we are all like becoming more and more and more exposed to this stuff, you know? We were talking right before we started, like, you know, our refrigerators are basically connected to the internet. Yeah. Right? Like, think about this. What if somebody figured out how to turn off all the refrigerators in America? That'd be crazy. Like, everyone's, like, can you imagine the economic fallout of that at stores and everything? Yeah. During a pandemic, that would cause chaos, right? Like, everybody would lose all their food. So, I mean, it's like, this is a real thing, man. It's a real thing. So what is this? Okay, I told y'all. I told you we'd make it to membership. I told you. Okay. All right. So you got this very high ticket course is what we're
Yes.
I'm going to start translating this back into the business world. Okay.
Sure.
So like you got this high ticket course, right? You've got this skill set that is unique because of the way you think, because you can think like the hacker. Like that's what the real IP is here. Is your team like you sit back like I plan, well, how can I sell more of these in the sales funnel? You're sitting there going, well, what would they do if they were trying to hack the refrigerators, right? And you all can figure this out. And like, this is probably what they do, right? And you're staying one step ahead. It's high ticket offer, but it's one-off sales. It's literally like, do you have a sales team that goes and
No. This is all we don't do any advertising. We don't do anything. It's all word of mouth. For 14 years. It's been all word of mouth, and we get people coming to the website and signing up individually. We get orders from the U.S. government to send 20 people to a class. I mean, it's both referral and repeat traffic, because the military is going to be like, hey, got 20 new guys. Yeah.
Bringing them in, right?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So that's where we are now. So what is the game plan going forward? What's the point of the membership then, right? Like, is it to create recurring revenue? Is it to activate people who aren't buying the big ticket stuff? Like, what is
it's more of a recurring revenue situation. Dude, I've been listening to you for almost like 3 years. Okay. I'm not kidding. And it's only recently I pulled the plug and actually joined.
Okay, I got that. Don't feel bad, because everybody does that. We had a guy named Brad Barrett. I don't know if you heard that episode.
I did.
Weeks ago. So Brad is an awesome guy. He joined the community. He literally was in our first beta group. You know what I mean? Yeah. And he quit his job and does all these things. And like, but his business back at the time, we weren't so into memberships back in 2014, right? It was we were doing some things subscription, but we weren't really like, you got to do this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he starts with affiliates, with these credit cards and things like this, like an affiliate program, basically. And he's making bank. And then he starts a partnership with his friend, and they start this. He meets this guy. They launch a podcast called Choose FI, and basically they launch this big affiliate thing. Well, then the pandemic hits, and they lose 90% of their revenue.
I heard that.
Yeah, it was. So he sends me a message. He's like, "Hey, man, about those memberships." I'm like, dude, I told you. Like, he's like, I asked him why did you wait so long? And he's like, man, you know how we entrepreneurs are. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Yeah. You're scared to touch anything because you're like, man, I'm not running ads. The military said to me, clients, this is great. What can go wrong? But then you see something happen, like a risk assessment of your actual company, just like hacking a little bit, right? And you're like, oh, bro, man, it'd be nice if we had about 30 grand a month and that was the floor. You know what I mean? Or something, whatever it is. And you say, oh, I do it. So don't feel bad, dude. It's okay. I'm sure I got some blind spots too. I might have to have you come in and do a hack assessment on me and figure out what my blind spots are. Okay. All right. So what are you thinking about this membership? I mean, I know we've got content like that's a given, right? But what does this look like in your head? You know what I mean?
Well, what I'm thinking, I'm having some of the employees do this now, and that is put out more mini course training sessions. Nothing that's going to, require months of development, because the 3 classes that we have now took months, almost a year to not only develop for the live class, but then to go back and revamp that and actually do a recorded version of a 5-day a week, 8-hour class. I mean, to put that all online is a mammoth undertaking for an instructor.
Sure. Yeah.
So I have the guys doing some not as high speed, high end training, but kind of something more intermediate and maybe some of the beginner stuff, because I think that will draw in some of the people that we can then upsell into the higher classes later on down the road. So I'm thinking a membership might be where you pay a monthly fee and you get these new courses, these mini courses, as we create them. We start to roll them out. And I'm all about, doing beta stuff. In fact, the model that you advocate to get a beta group in there to kind of, give them feedback as you build, have them give you feedback as you're building it before you actually launch the real thing, because you don't want to spend too much time going down the wrong path.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I did something very similar with the live classes. One of my people would come to me and say, hey, I got an idea for a new class. Okay, great. What is it? Oh, it's this, that, blah, blah, blah. I said, stop right there. Do me a favor. Put together a 1 hour talk. A 1 hour, hit the bullet points, and at the end of that talk, the people have to go back to the office and it has to be actionable. They have to get value from that talk. But at the end of the talk, what I want to do is I want you to pitch an actual 3 or 5 day full class if they liked what they saw. And then we will offer the class at half price. And then once we see so many people sign up in like 30 or 60 days, then we'll develop the full class.
Yeah,
Thank God I did that model, because about 3 classes we tried to pitch to this community. Nobody signed up for them. Maybe 2 or 3 people signed. I just refunded their money and said, hey, there wasn't enough interest. So we saved us a lot of time and a lot of heartache, and that there was no market for.
And the same thing will happen here. Like, you'll know really fast. You know what I'm saying? Like, who these people are, right?
Yeah.
But I wonder, like, so what's the follow-up? Let me ask you this before we start hashing things out here a little bit. Like, the big ticket things, right? You said they have a Slack channel where they can ask questions or whatever. But
yeah, with the instructors.
Are the courses finite? Like, so say I'm looking here, like, 2,000, 3,000 a student, whatever. I buy this course. How long is the course? How long do I have access to the Slack channel? How long can I ask questions?
You have infinite lifetime access is what it is. And with the classes that we have right now, keep in mind, this is something that I didn't say. These classes, the high ticket ones and the ones that are online, are hardware intensive. And by that, I mean, when you would come to us in person, it was a lab. There was hardware that you actually had to rip apart, open up, extract electrical components. There was soldering involved and all that kind of stuff. How do you do that online? Well, we actually ship the gear to the students and they get to keep the gear in the end. So just one of the classes, the gear kit alone, the cost to us is $700. So we're shipping.
So you're I see. So you got profit margin. This is physical product stuff in this.
Yeah, there's a physical component to it. Yeah.
Yeah. So you may be spending $3,000, but you're getting, you're spending $1,000 just getting them everything and whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But the profit, even with the cost of the components, the profit margins are huge.
No, for sure. Yeah. I can tell. Yeah.
But all future classes, we want to make sure that there is no reliance on hardware. We just want to keep it all just, if you have a computer and you can open up a terminal window and you can type on the command line, that's all you're going to need.
Okay. So, and I would assume what percentage of these courses are individuals and what percentage are businesses paying for individuals to do this?
See, that's one of my concerns.
Okay.
I'd say probably right around 65-70% are companies that are sending their people through. And of course, with the military and the government, we get like boatloads of people on like one particular purchase order. But we'll have some of these, security consulting companies that might send a person or 2 or 3 to the class or to sign up and take it online. So my problem or my concern is that people are not paying out of pocket in most cases to attend this class. What is the probability that they will actually pay out of pocket for some type of membership? That's my worry.
Well, okay. So, all right. I think we're good now. So there's 2 things I think I see here. And most of this is because I've done this game before, like dealing with schools. Like, it's still the government. They all pay the same way. Purchase orders and crap like that.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And they're paying for X, like we'll get a school district and they'll have 20 X teachers and we have to work with that. And then there's, what happens after it's done and when do they renew, and you got to kind of resell it a little bit and whatever, But I think people would pay for a membership if it's priced right? And it's weird because even though it's a high ticket thing, are you going to send people hardware to be able to tinker with this stuff? You know what I'm saying? In the members, I would think they would have to pay a separate fee, or this has to be. So you can't make this membership too expensive if they're paying for it out of pocket.
Exactly.
They'll have to buy the gear separate.
I mean, the other thing that we've toyed with is they can buy the gear from us as a kit. We ship them like we do now, or we provide them a resource list of all the components that they can buy on their own at their leisure.
Yeah.
So,
Or also too, with a little rethink in the training, I mean, I get that there's got to be hands-on stuff to it, and you still need to offer that. Like you could actually have two tiers. You could have one tier without the gear, which is $100 a month, right? Or what you could do is like, let's say this is like a, 7 or 8 month thing. It's like whatever. You could actually just work it in where, hey, or you can get the gear for, $197 a month. And it's almost like they're not renting it for you, but if they come in, like, so here's what would happen in that case. Let's say you do spend $700 on the gear, right? I'm just going to pick that number because it sounds good, right? And let's say you charge, hey, you can get the gear plan where we actually send you the stuff for $200 a month, right? And it might not be the price. I'm just picking that right now.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. So basically, in about 3.5 months, you've made your money back on the gear. And then if you can keep these people in the membership for double that, you've doubled your money off of someone who may have never bought, right? So there is a little bit of a risk in that, right? But it's almost like it's no different than paying for leads. Like, you can basically spend 2 to 3 months. Like if you have a 6-month membership, you can spend about 30% of your lifetime value of a customer. Like if your lifetime value is 600, you can spend 200 to get the customer, right? This is kind of the same thing, bro. It's like you're just saying, hey, wait a minute, guys. We're going to get this person in. We're going to create someone who never would have joined in another way. Maybe it's $300 a month. After 2 months, we make the gear back, right? And then if they stay 4 more months, we've made, $1,200 or whatever dollars off of these, 500 people that we never would have made because they never would have bit the bullet on this big ticket thing, right?
Yeah.
And then the only thing you have to do on the lower tier is, like you said, like, hey, you want to DIY it? Here's the list. You can sell the stuff separately for sure at cost just to get it in their hands, right? You just got to, you're facilitating that. Or you do some really YouTube level hands-on, like camera on hands stuff, and you just let the person watch, and maybe they don't order the gear, but they can get into the soldering and the welding. It's like, I watch videos like that all the time where it's like, hey, how do I do this? But then I'm not necessarily going to put my hands on it and do it. You know what I mean? Right? I just want to know how to do it. And most people if they know how to do that stuff, like if you show me a video about tying on a fishing lure, I don't need to have the lure and the line in my hand. I'm going to remember how to tie that lure because I know what I'm doing. Right?
Yeah.
And this is kind of the same thing, right? Like maybe someone doesn't really care if they touch it, It's not life and death military style. It's something else. You know what I'm saying? Right. So that's the two things I think right away that it would maybe look like. I think you've got to have a gear level. It's almost like you're leasing or renting or, it's almost like remember the old, you go in
rent to own, rent a center.
Yeah. Layaway, rent a center. Right. Exactly. That's exactly what it is. And so that it's kind of like that, which is weird. I've never seen a membership do that, but that would totally work. Right. Like, you got to.
I don't know. I guess I'll find out.
Yeah, man. Like you just got to figure out how to make the cost work. I wouldn't wait more than 90 days to break even. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And this is actually a concept that's higher level, but I'll talk about it now because I've never talked about this before. So we kind of view everything like a factory line here. It's like a Ford making a car, right? So and this is how we think about ads, investments, everything. Like, let's say it's January, and I'm like, okay, we're gonna start doing this, right? So it's January. Let's say it's $200 a month, and it takes 3 months to get my $600 back for the gear that I send them, right? Okay, so January I get 10 people, right? So they paid me $2,000, but I had to go out and spend $6,000 to get all those people the gear. Okay, well that's fine. Now I do that again in March, and now I do that again in, or I do it again in February. Then I do it again in March. Now here's the deal: in March, those first people are up to where I broke even on them. Right. And then the February people, they still owe me 200. And then the March people, they still owe me 400, but it's okay. I broke even on the first batch. Right. Now, what happens in April is interesting. I'm now profitable on that first cohort. Right. I'm almost profitable on the second cohort. And I'm getting close to being profitable again on the March cohort. Right. But now it's kind of like the April people, when they renew, have paid for the people in February. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And after about 6 or 7 months of that, you just keep stacking like a factory line. When they started putting the screw on the tire, it's a tire. and then it's an axle, and then it's a door, and then but all of a sudden, it takes like a month or two for that first car to roll off the line. But then by God, they haven't stopped rolling off since 1910, and there's Fords coming off everything every single day, and it does not stop 24/7. And like that's kind of how this works, right? Like you're just saying, yeah, I eat the first 3 months, but then it's over. Like I'm profiting off the first cohort, then the second, then the third, then the fourth, then it starts stacking, and you don't matter how much you're selling at that point, right? You know what I'm saying? It's cool.
Yeah. No, that's an awesome way to look at it. I never thought of that. So that's
you just got to eat that first 20 grand, but then you get it back like 3 months later, and then it doesn't matter at that point, So, but I think $300 a month for the gear, I think there'd have to be some continuation on that, or you'd have to have it worked in to where like, hey, your gear is paid off after 3 months, then it drops back down to the normal rate. Like that's a good way to do it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like there's a way to you're basically financing it. It's all you're doing. So you got the higher tier level and maybe it just stays at $300 a month. You throw a little extra support in it, and now it's like, we send you all the gear, plus you get lots of extra support. Then now it's good. And then you have a level where, hey, if you want to do this for $100 a month, like do it. Like just watch it. You're not going to be able to play with it, but we'll give you the list, and we'll have some affiliate links so you can click them if you want to give us a little change on the backside of that.
Yeah.
And you got that. The third thing though, I think you're missing the golden opportunity here. Is a recurring membership on the back end of the high ticket product. I think you're crazy for giving lifetime access to that Slack channel. I think you're crazy. Because I know it's a good selling point up front, right? But like giving an 8 to 12 week window to have the Slack channel as people are learning this, right, would be kind of cool. But then on the back side of it, if you told these people, hey, this is $3,060, we'll send you all the gear, we'll give you all the support, your people while they're going through this. We're gonna get your people through this in X weeks. They're gonna know it in X weeks. We're gonna be there for them. They got a Slack channel for X weeks. But just in case you didn't, for $100 a student a month, we'll give you access to the Slack channel for life, and that's direct access to our smartest people. So now what happens is the company or the government, the military might be able to do this. Schools usually can't because they don't have credit cards. But like, let's say it's a company, because that's kind of what we're looking at here. The company then says, hey man, if we don't get through this, we're investing in this. Stick that on the credit card. And then, Jim and bookkeeping forgets to cancel it for 18 months, right? Whether he doesn't know if Bob over in IT is actually using this thing. I mean, seriously. And like, then Bob is like every 3 months, is like, how do I do this? Oh yeah, I'll reach out to those guys. And he's using it, so he's getting value, right?
Yeah.
But with a minimal thing, like imagine if every customer you'd ever put through the course, every student, imagine if half of them had signed up at $100 a month over the last 5 years. What would your
dude? Don't make me do the
no,
math.
I'm telling you,
what I left on the
that's
table.
my job, bro. That's my job.
Killing me.
That's
You're
my job.
Killing me.
So like, I think that's instantaneous money, because no one's gonna balk at that price. It's the thing that's the result they want. And like, how long does a cohort take to get through the class once they buy that $3,000 course? Like,
It really depends on how motivated they are, because it's at their leisure. We've had some people crank through the class, which is the equivalent of a 5-day, 8-hour-a-day class, get through it in like 3 days.
Yeah.
And then we got some people, when you go back in the Kajabi and you look at the Wistia stats of the videos, it's like some of these people haven't even started the first lesson.
Oh yeah, for real, dude. And
what?
Yeah, and that's normal. It doesn't matter who it is, But I would do this in 2 ways, and this is for if anybody's listening to this later, and you got a high ticket course and you're trying to get into the recurring revenue, this is a great way to do it. It's like you already have infrastructure to support it lifetime in the Slack channel, right?
Yeah,
that's very valuable. That's amazing. But like, dude, with Kajabi, you can freaking order bump the recurring like easily. You can like, hey. You get access to our Slack channel for 12 weeks while you're going through this, right? But for right now, this is normally $100 a month if you want support after that. But you know what? Why not tag on 75 or whatever? You can pick the number. But like, you could order bump that, or you could do a one-click upsell, like on the next thing, like, hey, you got support for the next X weeks, but we would love to extend that support, forever, whatever. So why not sign up for this, for X dollars, or maybe it's $199 a quarter. Right, or whatever, we'll give you lifetime support at this rate. Even if we raise the rates, it'll never go up. Like, and now what's happening is, man, every course is leaving a long tail of recurring revenue for God knows how long. They, because I mean, I can't even imagine. Like, we've never been able to do this with schools because schools aren't usually allowed to use credit cards. It's all purchase orders, and we resell every August, right? Yeah. To get them to renew, which most of them renew, but it's not automated. But like if freaking Motorola, are they even a company still? If Motorola, I'm going to pick Motorola. My father-in-law used to work at Motorola. So like if Motorola comes in and literally like Jim over in engineering reaches out to Bob in accounting and gets the credit card and puts it on there and Bob sticks it there, Bob's not even going to ask about that until next year at tax time, right? And you're just crushing revenue on the back end of that. Like that could get out of hand.
I'll tell you what really blew my mind was that I had one of our instructors throw this idea at me, and it's like, I'm wondering if she's listening to the Flip Lifestyle podcast.
Right? She said, I'm just saying.
her question to me was, hey, what do you think about maybe doing a monthly Q&A with the students that are in the Slack channel?
Yes. And look, you could add that, and then you could say, hey, not only, okay, so do you get the Slack channel, but that tier, that's how you, okay, that's perfect. That's how you sell it immediately. Like, hey, you got a Slack channel, you got the courses, but you can get live support during your cohort. Like we have a Q&A every other week, right? Where you get to talk to a live person. It's not just in the Slack channel. And then they sign up for that in addition to the course. It doesn't come with the course, right?
Yeah.
It's just the upsell. And then, but that recurring stays, whatever it costs. And I'm anticipating this being a business to business, that part of the equation. That could be $200 a month and nobody would blink. These companies, that's a rounding error in some of these companies that you could deal with, So you're talking a crazy, like you get 100 people freaking on it, you get 100 people over time paying $200 a month, and Bob in accounting's like, what is Fred over in engineering doing again? And like it could skyball, it could just go crazy, right? Yeah. And then you got all kinds of extra revenue. Now and then that. So here's my whole, I'm bringing this full circle now. the reason I say that is that can eat the cost of financing the other memberships equipment costs up front. So like you've got a way to break even on your equipment, even in the lower tier. If that's functioning and you're making, I don't know how many thousands of dollars a month eventually, you get 10 people in it, you're already making a couple grand, right? Like eventually that stacks up big enough where you're like, oh, well, we're making $20,000 a month on this side recurring. That can pay for any hardware costs we advance here, and we become profitable a month or two earlier on every single member at the lower tier, right? And then those two numbers start combining, and all of a sudden you look up and you're like, wow, we have 100 grand a month in revenue over here. This is crazy, Like we're throwing $1 million into scraps heap, right? So it sounds crazy, but it's really just math. I mean, if you get X people doing that, it ends up being $100,000 before it's all said and done in a month.
Yeah, that's incredible.
So I think that the only thing I see missing, you got all the training, you got all the courses. This early version of this looks like very feasible for people who can't get supported by a company. You know what I'm saying? To buy the thing.
Yeah.
The only thing I see that might be missing is maybe a content strategy for those lower tier people. But that's probably what you got to figure out is like, how do you get more of those people on that list too? Right.
Well, one of the things that we started doing was just to see how people respond is we put 2 different mini courses up on YouTube. Doesn't take very long to crank out at all. I mean, it maybe 2 days worth of total time, and then my editing of the videos. Like
research and talking head style, just do it and see what happens.
And what I wanted to the guys to make sure that they do when they make these short videos is make them that so they're 15 minutes or less. Because I mean, if you dig into the stats on Wistia and Kajabi, you can see long form videos, man, that engagement rate just tails off after about the 15-minute mark.
Oh yeah.
So that's what we consciously did was take these videos, make sure that they were 15 minutes or less. You might have 5 or 6 in a series, put them out there on YouTube, and then promote the hell out of it on LinkedIn where these people are. I'll tell you, I promoted the most recent class 2 days ago on LinkedIn. I just did a post. I didn't run no ads, just organic. And the best post I've ever done on LinkedIn in all these years probably got about 2,700 views in people's feed. In 2 hours, this got 3,600 views, and it's still going today.
Oh, yeah. And LinkedIn's probably a good place to focus on that lower tier too, because that's where these individuals are roaming.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Because
Yes.
those are the professionals that may not have the access to the funds to do the next level stuff they want to do, but they would do it just to make themselves better. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And like that's the people you're looking to grab. So I think probably next steps, like this is interesting. Like I think this has to be massaged a little bit so we can talk about it more in the community and stuff. But like I think drilling down to fundamentals, like it's probably like really coming up with like 3 good avatars, not just one. Like it's 3 good segments of your list. You've got the business to business thing laid out down. You just have to figure out how to convert those people into recurring revenue. That don't neglect that. I'm telling you, that's a gold mine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then it might be the first thing you do, to be honest with you, because it could be rolled out almost instantaneously for your next few cohorts of whatever you do.
Yep.
You know, you can even sell it to people now that didn't see it then. Like,
hey, that's what we were talking about. Is like this live Q&A. I told her, I said, hold off, don't announce it to the Slack channel. Let me see if we can maybe get some people to kind of beta test it out, see how it is, and if they like it and the feedback's really good, then I want to sell it as an option to
Dude, I wouldn't even do that. I would put a price. I'd let people vote with their wallet. I'd say this is $197 a month. You get a Q&A every other week with experts from our team. It's live. You get to come and talk. You know, we do. I would just put it out there, and if anybody puts their credit card number in, that's gold. Like I would just do it. This business is this product is mature enough, and the people in it enough. Like it's probably true. Like if they get that Q&A, and all of a sudden someone's paying $200 a month just for 2 calls, right? Or you could rotate and have one a week for your team. You just rotate through the team, let somebody different host it. You know what I'm saying? That would sound really valuable. Like weekly office hours with our elite team of hacking ninja people, right? Like, you know, like you just say, hey, we're adding this on. It's $197 a month. We're going to let 20 people in right now. You send it to every customer you've ever had, not just the people in it now. You send it to everyone who's ever given you money. We just started this. It's awesome. We're going to let 20 people in for the next 3 months. Now you test them and learn from them, and you'll instantly create some, you know, just some revenue there. Let them vote with their wallet on that one. The other one, beta for sure, because you got to figure out the particulars there,
right?
You know, but I would that's what I would do probably right now is just do a segment analysis and say, okay, who is the person who gets in the low tier that doesn't want to buy the gear? Who is the person that gets in the tier that we send the gear to? We've got to get that one right, because if we're sending people gear, we don't want them bailing a month. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that could happen.
That might even have I tell you another thing. This might be a join fee situation, where it's like $500 up front, then $150 a month or something, to eat that cost on that one. Like there might be a join fee on that one, where it's like, it's a join fee. We send you the cup, you know, this gear retail would cost $1,200, but we have a $500 deposit plus $150 a month, and then it's paid off eventually or whatever. I don't know what it ends up being. But you might consider that. But I would just make sure that avatar is right, because if you get the right person, if you ask this question, who needs that, and you get that right, then they're going to stay, because they're going to get the gear. It's going to feel exciting. You could space the gear out too. Like, that would be amazing. So like, how many pieces of gear would you send somebody? Would you send them like more than one piece of gear, or like?
I mean, in the kit, the biggest class, I mean, we have everything from like individual capacitors and diodes that you have to solder on board, imagine multimeters, and
imagine this. It's almost like a subscription box, like Christmas every month. Like you could be like, all right, the first month you get this piece. Well, now we only have to send them that piece. So that cuts the cost down a little bit. And then the next piece we send this, and the next piece we send this. Like the first 3 months they get their thing, and then it's paid off. You don't send them anything else. It just costs that much, right? So like that almost builds in retention, because they don't have all the gear yet, right?
So what do you do about those people that are like kind of high speed, want to get through the class, they get through the labs, and we haven't shipped them the gear for that lab yet? Then they kind of
it's a third tier.
Okay.
It's a third tier. It's $500 a month. You get it up front. What are you talking about? Right? You know what I'm saying? Like, there's always a way. We can figure this out. There's always an answer. We can solve this problem.
God, I love it.
You know what I'm saying? So, okay. Well, we've covered a lot of ground. We have worked from 1985 back into 2020. This is an amazing conversation. By far one of the funnest conversations I've ever had. The great thing is this conversation will continue in the Flip Your Life community.
Yes, it will.
And yeah, we'll figure this out, man. And yeah, there's huge opportunity here. All right, guys, that wraps up my interview with Terry Dunlap. That was a crazy Flip Lifestyle podcast. I mean, if you could have told me back in the day, hey, someday you'll be sitting there with a convicted hacker who helps the U.S. military fight off attacks from abroad, and you'll be helping him build his membership site, I probably wouldn't have believed you. But that's exactly what happened. So we have added a real-life Hall of Fame hacker to the Flip Lifestyle Hall of Fame. And what a fun conversation. What an awesome business. And what a great opportunity that Terry has to go create a massive amount of recurring revenue in his online membership. And what an amazing opportunity you have to create an online business, an online membership as well. This isn't 1985 where you don't have to dumpster dive for credit cards. You don't have to pull the little clicker to take a payment. You can literally use something like Kajabi. You can join the Flip Your Life community, and you can have an online business up and running in no time that you can go out and sell whatever it is that you teach to anybody in the world. You have God-given talents and experiences, just like Terry did, to go out and create a business that could change your family's future. We would love to help you just like we helped Terry today inside of the Flip Your Life community. Flip Your Life community, we have an entire process. It's called the Flip Your Life Blueprint, where we will take you step by step, hold you by the hand from start to finish, and start building and grow your online business membership. We have a community of amazing people like Terry that are in there helping each other in the forums, talking back and forth, celebrating successes, holding each other accountable so that you don't have to do this alone. And of course, me and Jocelyn and our team will be there for you every single step of the way. You can start a 30-day free trial inside the Flip Your Life community right now, today, for free over at fliplifestyle.com/free. Come in, check out the courses, check out all of the community stuff, check out the Q&As, check out everything we have to offer inside. Do it for 30 days for free. If you don't love it, you can cancel anytime. If you do, we will help you go after your online business dream. That's fliplifestyle.com/free. You can start your 30-day free trial today. All right, guys, that is all the time we have for today's Flipped Lifestyle podcast. But before we go, we love to close every episode of the Flip Lifestyle podcast with a Bible verse. Jocelyn and I get a lot of our inspiration and motivation from the Bible in business and life. We love to share those little nuggets of wisdom with you guys here on the podcast. Today's Bible verse comes from 1 Peter chapter 4, verse 10. The Bible says, as each has received a gift, use it to serve one another as good stewards of God's varied grace. You know, it's funny. Terry realized he had a gift very early on. He could figure out these systems. He could put things together. And even something like hacking, you know, he could have went down a dark path if he had never been caught early on and turned back to the light. But you know what? He took his gift. He took his gift of hacking and systems, and he used it to serve other people, to serve companies, to serve individuals, to serve his country. And now he is doing an amazing work with that God-given gift to figure out those systems. And I just want to encourage you today to go out and identify and use your God-given gifts and experiences so that you can serve the people out there that need your help too. That's all the time we have for this week, guys. Until next time, get out there, take action, and do whatever it takes to flip your life. We'll see you then.
Bye.
Okay.
We won't share all that publicly so somebody doesn't hack you. And, can you hack the hacker? That's the real question.
One more thing before we go. Thank you so much for listening to the Flip Lifestyle Podcast. If you love the Flip Lifestyle Podcast, if we bring a little joy and a little happiness and we bring some knowledge into your life every single week, could you do us a favor? Go to Apple Podcast and hit subscribe. Download a few of the podcast episodes onto your phone. Apple's algorithm loves seeing downloads and it loves seeing those subscribes. And please leave us an honest review over on Apple podcast. That'll help us grow the show, expand the mission, and reach more people so that we can help them change their family's future as well. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.